Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Souchere.
Rick Kupchella has been kind enough to join us again in the studio, but he's on a time limit because he stirred up quite a controversy with his documentary, which aired last night, called The Precarious State. And Rick, I left with a couple of thoughts, the main one being the condition of Minneapolis in particular is much worse than I thought.
Based on what you saw?
Based on what I saw. For example, I haven't driven through Uptown for maybe a year. I was shocked. It's closed. There is no Uptown.
Right.
There is no Uptown. I came to the realization that I'm going to blame a couple of things I'll talk about when you have to leave. But I blame the failed academy for producing the likes of Robin Wansley. I'm sure she was taught a great deal of oppression and victimhood. And I blame the caucus system. There was probably a day in Minneapolis when Dad said, I'm going to take a break from mowing the lawn. And he went to the caucus, and he knew the people there, and they shared similar values, and they had an American outlook on life. And then he would cast his vote for somebody he knew. And today, it's all Jason Chavez has to do is to get 15 like-minded people to show up at a caucus on a July afternoon, and they rally around him. Then he gets the endorsement, and then that same dad who no longer goes to the caucus, he sees the DFL signs all September and October, and he votes for Jason Chavez. Mm-hmm. I don't know how you get rid of the. How do you get rid of the caucus system? Legislatively, I wonder?
Legislature can do it, for sure. The parties can do it also. The parties could do it themselves. They'd have to both do it, I think. But
you got to return to just primaries only.
Primaries would be a real logical way to go.
Because the dad, he can take 20 minutes to go vote. Is he going to take an entire day to go to a caucus? Now, Kenny and I were talking prior to your entrance, and Kenny thinks the answer is the revitalization of the caucus system.
No, I'm talking about, like Carol said, game the system, play the caucus game until we can get it changed. I hate the caucus too, but we've got to deal with it while it's here. That's all I pretty much agree with you, Joe, except let's game it first.
What feedback have you gotten? It's under 24 hours, but I bet you've gotten incredible feedback.
Yeah, it's been stunning. I'll tell you, I have I want to share with you just
I'll put it this way,
text.
Joe. When I called Rick this morning after you called me, I said, well, way to go, bleep hole. And he said, well, you too, huh?
Just the latest in a long line. Take a ticket. That's funny. There's a friend of mine over the years who wrote to me this morning. He's a senior, He's an educated guy. He wrote, and this is what he said to me. He had no idea. He thought this was not just mind blowing, but he was saying that. I know what he did this with me, and here it is. He just right out of the gate, such a.
You're not finding it.
I know.
You?
I'm not finding it fast enough. I'm sorry. I don't want to burn your time.
You know what? And Rick, what stunned me was a conversation that you had with somebody else a short while ago. Is how many people are so unaware of what's happening. Mm-hmm. And I think this was a big step into opening people's eyes.
Yeah, this is what he said. I paid no attention to the city council, who's on it, and what authority it has. Sadly, I didn't even know that we were in this particular ward. I was all set this morning to dive into the credentials of that person. He said, but he was frustrated himself. He just gotten to a point. Frankly, in this case, this guy is he would be a Republican for sure. And, he's like, I'm not going to get one. I'm not going to get one. So he's kind of mailing it in on the Democratic, options.
Do we know who represents him?
Yes.
Who is it?
Paul Masano, which is
Masano.
that's not DSA for sure.
No, but the other astonishing thing you revealed last night is the high percentage of time that so-called DFL members vote with DSA members.
Isn't that a shocker?
So the struggle in Minneapolis seems to be, if there are people who want to have the traditional, conventional, historical DFL that we knew, they're going to have to speak up and draw distinctions between themselves and the DSA. I don't see that happening.
No. It is not happening. You know, one of the most holy crap things that I saw in the course of doing this was there's a group within the DFL, a couple of women DFL, strong positions with the organization, had put together a deal, Protect Our Platform. You guys can look this up at some point, protectourplatform.org, okay? And what they did was they just laid out, hey, this is what the DSA stands for. And over here, this is what the DFL stands for, okay? These things should not be in the same group. They should not. Oh, they're very much. And so their notion of Protect Our Platform was to get a motion at the last convention that would get them out of the DFL, right? Get them out of the DFL. Well, I'm told that the leadership of the Minneapolis DFL skews alignment. They're all DFL, but they align heavily with DSA.
Let's
and they didn't let that motion be heard even to extract the DSA from the DFL. Wouldn't allow it to be heard.
Let's stick to what we learned last night.
Yes, sir.
You were able to put a microphone in front of Aisha Chugtai, who literally said she doesn't care about business.
Yeah. So I want to be clear. She never agreed. She did agree to talk to us, and then she canceled, right? So did Wansley, same deal, and canceled. And then that sound that you saw was on Wedge Live, a podcast. Okay,
all right.
Yeah, that's where we got it.
It should alarm the people of Minneapolis that Aisha Chugtai, a committed Marxist, very committed to it.
She will identify herself as a socialist. Yeah. Wansley's the one who identifies herself as a Marxist.
Okay, Chugtai, committed socialist, is the committee chair of the budget committee.
That's correct.
That's a $2 billion city budget that is in the hands of a young woman who has no particular ideology that would suggest a knowledge of America. That's how I would wrap it up. No belief in competition, capitalism, entrepreneurship. No, she's a proud renter. No belief in anything except bringing about what we've on this show been calling for 25 years, the mystery, bringing about a country that is not the America we grew up in.
And Joe, her only real job, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rick, was being a nanny for Ilhan Omar.
Well, I don't know her full background, but I have heard that is a job that she had before she came into the city council.
And I can't blame the failed academy for her ideology because she has very limited educational background, as opposed to Wansley, who has a number of degrees that are meaningless and probably was exposed to a great deal of oppression and victimhood. She was coached pretty hard. I'm very comfortable in saying that in her meaningless college degrees, what she learned to do was hold success in suspicion. And these people have no interest. You had a long part of the documentary with a guy who was the head of what was called Mint Properties.
Oh, yeah, Jim Rubin.
Jim Rubin, an apartment owner, and how his business is collapsing. And there was a great scene of an empty office full of abandoned Mint property signs, which have had to come down because
all of us are familiar with that area. It was a once beautiful neighborhood.
And very familiar with Mint properties. Those buildings are all over the uptown between Lake Street and Franklin and between Hennepin and Lindale, over.
But what Rubin discovered is that he's been dealing with a city council that has no interest in him succeeding.
They won't talk to him.
No interest in him succeeding, even though he's housed people, he's employed people, he has kept buildings maintained. They don't care because that's not in their purview with their distorted ideology of what this country is.
Joe, if you're on the city council, are you going to talk to a guy that has 78 buildings, 1,500 units, housing for 15,000 people? Boy, he goes to the top of my list.
I'm not only going to talk to him, I'm going to pick up the tab.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Yes.
Where are you personally with this? You live in Minneapolis.
It's been a stunner. I mean, I did, and I'll tell you the truth. I mean, this is I don't know that we talked about this last time I was here, but a good friend of mine who worked with me on this early on, just kind of passed this data to me on the Democratic Socialists and their kind of how they're implicated in all of this. And I looked at it and I thought, geez, I don't. This would make it completely. This would make it political. I don't want to go there. I want to figure out how to do this story without getting into that, because that will become noise to too many people and bait for too many people, and it'll become more of a distraction. So I put it down. And then about 4 months later, I picked it up again, and I'm like, damn, this is showing up everywhere, but to resist. Picked it up a third time, and it was about a year in. Okay, and this is out a 2-year run. And it's like, look, you just got to buck up. You got to just tell the story.
You have no choice.
As it is. Yeah. No, I mean, it would have been really just a failure to try to walk around it. You can't.
When we had you on Monday, you suggested, I'm not trying to put you on the line here, you suggested you found some hope. I didn't see any.
So the hope is rooted in the belief that, listen, you yourself here told me when I sat down, you did not know a lot of this stuff. You are a preacher, an evangelist in this kind of space.
I just haven't been to Uptown lately, and seeing it in your film was astonishing to me.
Yeah. Well, the hope is that when people can see it, and the it is Uptown, the it is, my Democratic farmer labor vote for the city council actually votes with socialists more than most of the socialists vote with socialists.
Yeah.
That's where there can be hope. If people are paying attention, if they're sitting up, if they're looking into this now, and like this guy who called me and said, wait a minute, who's my ward person?
I think he's inexcusable, and I think he's the problem, generically speaking, that there's no excuse for somebody like that who doesn't even know who his council person is. So, sorry for your friend.
Well, it happened. It's a lot. I don't think that's uncommon.
It isn't. I said generically. It's a fault. Voters have let this happen.
Can I help Joe answer Joe's question? Are you willing to share what you shared in the other office, Rick, a few minutes ago?
Just about
not really.
The lack of awareness or knowledge about the DSA?
Yes, because I think that's telling.
Yeah. Well, early, just kind of going around the state, really, and meeting with business and other groups to try to get folks engaged in helping us make this a reality, right? And so I end up in outstate Minnesota, and I've got a CEO of a company, a fairly big company, and he says he'd like to meet with me and talk about this, and he invites a lot of community leaders from this smaller town around his boardroom, right? And they all come in, and I'm showing them what I'm learning, which back then, over a year ago, was a deck, right? And I'm walking them through it. And in the deck, about halfway, I introduce this notion.
What's deck be?
The deck, the presentation deck. Okay.
All right.
And I'm walking them through the pages. And I do this deliberately. I did it deliberately everywhere I went. A first reference would always be to DSA. Just to see if anybody knew what I was talking about, right? And almost nobody ever knew what I was talking about when I said DSA, okay? And this was no difference. And this captain at the other end of the table put up his hands and said, hey, come on, jargon. We like to help you here. What are you talking about?
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, that's Democratic Socialists of America. Right. That's what the DSA is. He goes, oh, go ahead. So I get in one more sentence, hands come up again. This is my favorite story. And in his head, right, what's happening? This is what it shows. He goes, so wait a minute. We're talking about socialists? I said, yes, sir. And he says, okay, go ahead. He stops me again, third time. Okay. And he says, wait, are we talking about socialism? Okay, now I want to say, I think that's where most people are. They have no idea.
Yeah.
And this is a smart guy running a big-time business that's unaware.
You a number of times asked people in the documentary, have you read the DSA platform? I have. It's on my desk. If everyone in Minneapolis would read the DSA platform, it's my hope that the DSA would go away.
Okay, Joe, thank you. That was you just channeled God through that statement, because here's what I want to tell you. Because yesterday, so we're writing a piece on this right now, because yesterday, literally on my way to the program, I'm picking up the platform, the DSA platform that I know well, and I'm just looking at it and thinking how I might use it in that live thing we did last night. And I'm looking at it online, and all the incendiary stuff. We want the release of all incarcerated people.
Right.
We want to close all jails.
No
right?
prisons.
All this stuff.
No police.
Yes, exactly. They took it all out.
Who's they?
Whoever controls the DSA USA website.
Wow. Oh.
They took those lines all out. Every one of them that were in my thing last night, in that doc, where we said these are the things. And they just basically, what they really did was they took the platform, they pulled it out, put it on a shelf. We went in the Wayback Machine, though. We found it, and we're going to put them all up at precariousstate.com. Okay? They took them out, and they, honestly, if you look at it now, they call it a program. They don't call it a platform. They call it a program. And
I got the platform.
It's a very kind of icon-oriented, it's like a new age Schoolhouse Rock is what it comes across as. And I think we know that it was there on September 9th. It was all gone on September 10th by the Wayback Machine. And by September 11th, there were some big pieces coming out on Mamdani, And I'm just thinking,
Mamdani has to be the hero of these people.
Honest to God, right?
Well, New York's going to learn the hard way. You had a gun battle, a video of a gun battle in Minneapolis that, to my knowledge, had never been revealed before.
Yes.
I hadn't seen it on the news. I hadn't read about it. Was it 19th and Nicollet?
Yes, sir.
What was the story behind that?
That was a retaliatory strike. The day before, there was the murder of a drug dealer on that corner by another drug dealer. Okay. So 19th and Nicollet has apparently been a place where there's been ongoing, for years, heavy drug trading going.
All right.
Okay. Jim Rubin himself has sent me images from his own truck driving through. He says, in the dock where he says, it's like people, they just drive through here and the dealers come from either side and they make their transaction and they go. That was.
He said they waited in line.
Yeah. They waited in line. And
it was a drive-through, yeah.
Yeah. It was just.
And now Rubin
crazy.
is the fellow who owns so many properties.
Right. And he's got several of them right there at that intersection.
Right. What is his future? Is he trying to hang on? I couldn't gather what his future might hold.
Out of state, yeah.
Yeah. He says no more spending money in blue states. That's what he said. No more spending money in blue states. He's cashing out. He's sold third, and he's going to sell all, and he's going to invest in red states.
Before we started the show, you alluded to something. I hope you repeat it. I think we were jawing about what is it these people want. What is the end game for Robin Wansley and Chugtai and Jason Chavez? And you had an answer.
Yeah.
What do they want?
I'd say, it is nothing short of a new world order.
In other words, you're talking about the mystery without perhaps being aware of us having talked about the mystery. It's a mystery. They want a different world.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No.
And how do they see that as being a better world?
It's the way they characterize it, the way they sell it, is that it's everybody's more equal. Everybody's more equal economically. Everybody's more equal. It has nothing to do. There's no talk about effort or risk and reward. There's nothing like that. It's let's take what exists and let's recast it so everybody's equal.
Well, the end result of that is the complete elimination of your individual freedom.
Yeah.
The bigger the government, the smaller the citizen. We're shrinking as it is. And I don't doubt you for a moment. The mystery is exactly that the government will run everything. Therefore, you no longer have freedom. You are not a sacred individual. You are a ward of the state. That's what they prefer. And it has to be eliminated. It has to be defeated. What's part 2 of this documentary going to be? Because let's go here.
Get
2 years from now.
Jesus, it took you long enough.
Come on, let's go. Took you 2 years to do this. You got to have the new one out in 6 months.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Do you have plans for a second?
We're definitely looking at where else this can go and how we can keep bringing this one along. Because if you just like throw up this volley, right, and you walk away, it'll lose steam, interest, and frankly, I mean, the sadness that I see, and I've talked to these people, even getting to where we've gotten already, who are leaving, who are absolutely positively leaving.
How could you blame them?
I know.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the people you interviewed, which I did not know they were going to be involved with this, I know personally, and I called them this morning. And basically, when you start losing the people that actually have a vested interest in wanting an improvement here, when they're done, that's when you're in real trouble.
Yes, sir.
And Pat Garofalo, another person involved that's a friend of the show, had one of the best quotes of your entire piece, I thought. And he said, so many of these people that are in climate denial, well, those same people are in fiduciary denial right now, because that's what's happening.
Well, what's going to happen when Chavez and Chugtai and Wansley and the rest, what's going to happen when they run out of money?
Oh.
They can only bring this about by continuing to take your money. And then pretty soon your pockets are empty. Now where are they?
Right.
Well, they're just going to keep raising taxes.
Well, but how are you going to pay it? The jobs will leave.
The well's dry.
The entrepreneurs will leave. The competitors will leave. There will be no money.
How many council members are up for re-election?
All of them this year.
Them, yeah.
Every single one of them. There's
That's
12.
rare because of redistricting.
Yeah, but
happens.
who's running against them?
Well, see, hey, that's a big deal, what you just said right there. So, in the Chavez example is a great one.
He's an embarrassment.
He's safe as he could possibly be. He has one real opponent in this who showed up extremely late. And everybody that I talk to around this space says he's very safe. Very safe.
His opponent made his own signs.
Is it possible that Chavez, I think it's Ward 9, the Central City, basically.
Yeah, I should know that off the top of my head.
And Powderhorn Park. Is it possible that the majority of the homeowners in his ward share his views?
Well, that also a very good question. It is. See, this is a thing, and this is what I'm saying. I don't know. I say this is where the hope is, that people will get this and they'll react appropriately, or correspondingly to have more control over where things are going, or not. And so,
because all Chavez has to do is show up at his caucus, 15 lunatics that support him, give him the endorsement, the signs go up, and then people just vote DFL.
Well, I don't want to criticize the people in Ward 9, but how, looking at a map, how many of them are actually going to the poll is what I'm wondering.
You got some pretty than go to the caucus.
But
caucus,
Joe,
yeah.
you've got some pretty shitty down and out neighborhoods in Ward 9, and I live down there just south of Ward 9.
So I know Chavez has that place that is at 19th and Nicollet. Actually, there are 3 wards that kind of come together.
Yep.
And he's on the east side. He's on the east side of Nicollet.
He's probably a proud renter too. I don't know, but I'm betting he is.
Could be.
Because the socialists like to call themselves proud renters, as though home ownership is somehow to be held in contempt, because that suggests private property and ownership, and that flies in the face of true Marxism in Wansley's case. Mm-hmm. It just flies in the face of it.
The defund the police movement that, and I know you highlighted in this piece, Rick, I think that really did get some significant backlash. But when you talk to O'Hara, that's a guy that just looks defeated. And I don't know if you've got that sense too when you talk.
Well, The guy is, he is really impressive in person. I will tell you that. He is, I've been impressed by him. He is strong, and he's also, he's somebody who is fairly pragmatic. He makes it very clear that either this is going to turn around, we're going to get what we need to build the force we need, we're understaffed dramatically, or, as he says, he had a progressive mayor in Newark. He said it wasn't like this, though.
Well, he can't get what he needs with this city council.
No, he can't. That's
and
proven.
They have enough socialists on the council to override any Fry veto, for example.
It's happened repeatedly.
Yeah. And Fry, unfortunately, has not developed enough testicles to put a stop to this. He just rides along with it. And he's still a better choice than Omar Fateh. But if you get Omar Fateh as mayor,
God bless
you're
you all.
done. It's a ghost town. You're done. It's over. There is no hope because he would be deeply involved, however, allegedly, he would be deeply involved in continuing fraud.
I have one question for you about Erin Fitzgerald, the real estate investor. She seemed to give off a sense of hope. Did you get that from her? She's currently buying dilapidated and buildings that have lost a lot of value in some pretty rough neighborhoods, and she seems to have hope. What is driving her?
So, she is an interesting individual. I have actually personally not met her. She was interviewed by some of my team, but I've gone through all of the interviews, et cetera. And what I found striking, so here's somebody who's been in the commercial real estate industry for a good period of time.
Yeah.
And she's developed an extraordinary network, and she's been able to bring that network together and leverage that network in a way that a lot of these buildings that are being bought for pennies on the dollar, she has coordinated buyers from around the country, and she comes in with them as a partner. And I think she's been very astute in how she
She's as good as it
involved.
gets. She's as good as it gets.
What strikes me about that interview with her, though, is at the end of this piece, and her actions to date have been, I would say, the definition of hopeful, right? Because what matter what the cost, you're not putting money down if you think it's over,
right?
And at the end of this piece, she starts talking about all the things she's learning. So she's brought these folks together, who do this all around the world, really, right? They're teaching her as well, and she's talking about, what we just found in Puerto Rico is this. What we just found here is that. And these are places where we're looking at starting to make more investments. And I'm thinking, wow, she's become quite educated, and she's become quite clear on, how to win over the long run, and is wondering if this is the way.
You got a split?
I do.
All right.
Here's the deal, though. Do you know what he did for us today?
I don't.
He's pushing off Tim Pawlenty for us.
Well, I would too.
I want everybody listening to jump or rewind back to exactly 44, the timestamp on the program last night. And that's where you learn some really interesting and shocking things about the way the Minneapolis City Council voted. And you both talked about it briefly there in the last few minutes, but it's right at 44. And if you're a resident of Minneapolis, you should be